Hi, I'm Ellie. Join me as I show you how to make the Czech leaf falling fringe necklace, which appears white because of the green screen, but stay tuned and see it in its green and glory. This is one of the projects in this month's subscription kit box. If you want to check that out, look below the video where we put the description and the list of supplies as well as links to get back to our site if you want to check out this as well as 2 other amazing kits in this month's box. Gather up your materials and let's get started. So to begin my fringe necklace here in that falling leaf, I have on RounTrio beads and separated those out with some 8/0 and 1.5 by 2 millimeter rondelles. I'm going through the top hole of the RounTrio. There are 3 holes in this, 1, 2, 3, and this is the faceted RounTrio. And as I add in and start, I'm starting with some of my dragon thread here. I put a little stop bead on, a couple beads just to hold its space. We're actually going to take some of those off, but I didn't want to be right up next to that RounTrio to begin. We did RounTrio through that top hole, 2/8, crystal 2/8. And I've repeated that between 8 of my RounTrio beads, coming out the top and leaving open the second and the third hole. We're going to add a little bit more color as we come down through the second hole. So I'm at my last RounTrio. I've used 8. Obviously you can use however many you want. And I'm just reversing the thread from that top hole to the middle hole of the RounTrio. I'm going to come down the center line now and add in that little brighter pop of color. 3 of my 11/0s followed by 1 8/0 and 3 more 11/0s. And I'm going to proceed through that RounTrio, hole number 2. So remember there's 3 holes. That's hole number 2. And you can see that curve is starting to happen a little bit because of the difference in size. We're going to 1, 2, and 3. One of my bronze seed beads. 1, 2, 3. Picking up the next RounTrio and into that middle hole. So I'm going to continue to do that second row now with the 11/0s, just like I did the first row with the 8s. Do you want to know how to save over 50% on jewelry making kits? With the monthly kit subscription, you'll get 3 new kits for as little as $49.99. Remember, that's for 3 kits. That's a savings of up to $70 per box, plus you get free domestic shipping. Visit PotomacBeads.com/subscribe or click on the link in the description. Once you get to the end of that row there, you can see kind of that swag starting to happen. You're going to once again reverse from that middle hole now to the bottom hole of the RounTrio. And we're just doing the center piece here, and then we'll do our seed beads up the back after we get the drape in. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do our third drape, which is going to have all of our different leaves falling off. As you go now to the third row, your rotation is going to be 1, 2, and 3 of your 8s, followed by 1 of your crystals and 3 8s. So the top row was 2, this time you have 3. And then you're going to go into the next RounTrio, into that third hole, and you see that draping effect going on. So 3 of your 8s, followed by 1 of your crystals, 3 more 8s, and on to the next. You're going to do this the whole way down to the end of this grouping of RounTrios. As you get to the end of the design here and you put your last one in place, you're going through the final hole of the RounTrio, and you can see that sway action starting to happen, almost like a curtain. You're going to take your needle and thread back through hole number 2 towards that middle of that final RounTrio bead. I want you to then go through hole number 1, so you're coming out towards the outer edge. And then you're going to skip over from hole number 1 down to hole number 3, and that's going to get us in position to do our fringe, which is going to be our leaves. Coming out hole number 3 there, I want you to go through beads number 1 and 2, and you're going to exit right there after bead number 2. We're going to add 3 of our leaves of fringe to each section of our piece. I want you to start out with 1 and 2 of your 11/0s, followed by 1 8/0, 1 and 2 more 11/0s, and then you're going to grab your first colored swirl leaf. And that has a hole right through the top, so it's going to kind of lay on the side and move all around. We're going to do 1 and 2 11/0s after the leaf. Go back up through that 8/0 seed bead, and we're going to share that. And that's going to create a little bit of a drop there. And then after the 8/0, 1 and 2 more 11 O's. Now, we're coming out of bead number 2. I want you to go back into bead number 2, starting from the starter side, coming out where the thread was coming out. What that's going to do is bring it so that it sits central over top of that middle bead there. Take your needle and thread then through the next 8 and through the crystal. And we're going to do kind of the same thing there of that Xing. But what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 and 2 of our 11s, followed by our 8, followed by 1 and 2 11s, and getting a little crystal down there, 1 crystal. Get in your leaf drop, a crystal, 2 of your 11s, and then you're going to go back through that 8-0 seed bead as well. After that 8-0 seed bead and going back through there, just kind of give a little tight tug. You will see a tiny bit of thread. It's not going to kill you. 11 O's. If you have 15s in your stash and you want to use those, you can. I just wanted to keep it simple. 2 more 11s. You're going to circle back through that crystal, back through the next 8-0, and out through the second one, kind of in that grouping of 3. And that does your second leaf drop. We're going to do that repeat of that first one, 1, 2 of our 11s, followed by 1, 8, followed by 1 and 2 11s, and our leaf. Once I have that leaf on there, 1 and 2 11s, back up through, I have 3 on there, back up through that 8-0 seed bead. After you threw that 8-0 seed bead, you'd give a nice tight pull to tighten up any of that thread that may be showing. Add 2 more 11s, 1 and 2. And as you add those 2 11s then, you're going to go through that 8-0 seed bead one more time, through the next 8-0, through the next one of my RounTrios, through the next 8, and out through the second 8. And then we're going to start again. Once you have the bottom of the design here, you can see that fun bright color with the leaves hanging every which way, looking like they're falling, getting ready off the tree. Now, I have that stoppy there. Remember I did some beads just for tension, kind of hanging out there. We're actually going to take those off. But I'm coming out of the bottom of my last faceted RounTrio, and we're going to get ready to do our necklace cord that's going to have our button on the side. Now, what pattern you do is completely up to you. It's going to be double-stranded, so you're going to have the bottom as well as the top hole of the RounTrio that are going to have beads coming out. Now, this is one of those subscription box projects where we give you extra seed beads, so you can kind of make it your own. I'm going to suggest and show you what I'm going to do. So I'm not going to use a ton of the bright green in the bottom section because I want that color to really focus and stay towards that bottom of the design to wear with something like this black top. I'm going to come out of the design and I'm going to use one of my lighter greens. And then I'm going to start a series because I have extra of my Seafoam crystals. I'm going to start a series where I have 3 of my bronze color 8-0s. And then I'm going in with my crystal. And then 3 more of those bronze 8-0s. That's going to continue for my whole necklace strand for half of my piece. So right now I'm doing the bottom strand here, 3 8s, 1 crystal, 3 8s. So I made my initial strand here about 6.5 inches. My necklace total I want to keep short, so it's going to be about 17.5, 18 inches. You have enough supplies to keep going if you want to make it a little bit longer, but I'm going to add my button. And to add my button, I'm going to switch to my little 11-0 seed beads and put on 1, 2, and 3 of them. Go up through the cup button. Coming out the front, we are going to do a 11, 8, 11. Come down through the button on the opposite side. And now I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3 of my 11-0 seed beads. And then I'm going to go back through that first 8-0 seed bead. Now, when it comes to my strands, I like to reinforce them. So I'm going to go the whole way back now, adding in my second row of my beads. We're going to come up to the other side and come all the way back again then and back down to do some reinforcement on our strand. So now what I'm going to do is basically the exact same thing, where I'm doing 2 of my beads, and then I'm going to do 1 of my crystals, and then I'm going back to 1, 2, and 3. This second strand is going to lay right along the first strand and just mirror it as you're coming out of the design, so that it's going to sit with the exact same thing. Now, you could get fancy if you want to, go into that crystal and share it, but because of the depth of this necklace, I want 2 strands leading up to it. Once you've got that second strand coming through, and I'm going to move the camera back just so you can see it a little bit more. See how pretty that looks coming down? What we're going to do is just move that stop bead and those extra beads there off to the side. Now, on the bottom, I did use the 111 seed bead. I'm not going to use that along the top just because that way it sits kind of a little bit different with that extra bead kind of down to the side. We are now going to pick up our first hole of our round trio, and that faceted round trio and that top line of seed beads, the 80 crystal 80, we are stringing the whole way through the design. So the whole way through that first piece there, and then you'll see that nice strand go up here. And I'm going to make sure I'm not missing any of my beads. Once I come out through the other side then, I'm going to be out hole number 1. So that makes me ready then to go in and to do my strands, mimicking this same side. And then at the opposite side where I would put my button, we're going to create our loop with our 11 seed beads. When you go back through your beads, whether or not you're going through strand number 1, or we're going to sneak and do strand number 2, for that second one, you're going to make sure that you're not missing any beads. If you miss any beads along this row, it sometimes is going to sit funky because you have a bead that's going to pop out to the side. So take your time through this process here. Make sure you have all of those beads with these strands going through. I even will hold it, kind of push it down like that, and make sure you don't have any beads popping out the top. Looks good to go. And now once again, 1, 2, and 3/8 followed by a crystal. Do that the whole length to match this opposite side here, and then we'll get in and create our loop. So when you're coming out of that second row here, or that first row, I should say, on the second side, you're going to make it match the first one. However, when you get to the end here, I'm going to use 1/8 instead of 3, and then I put on 25 of my 11 seed beads. I'm going to bring my needle and thread back through that last 80 seed bead, and I'm also going to bring it through the crystal, just to kind of make that loop a little bit more spread out from the piece. Now we're going back down the line. 1, 2, 3 seed beads, followed by a crystal. And we're doing this the whole way until we get to the end, where we're going to go into that third hole of the last round trio. And before that, we're going to use 1 of our 11 seed bead as that connector. We'll go back then into the first row, reinforce, come down the second, and go back over to the opposite side. Back at the base of this strand now, coming in and making sure that these are even and that I have the same amount of seed beads. You'll see I picked up 1 11 seed bead. I'm going into the bottom of that round trio into hole number 2. Nice tight pull back into hole number 1. As we come back into hole number 1 then, we are going to reinforce, going back through this whole row. We're going to go back through the whole row here, up through our clasp section, back down through. And the next one, we are going to come out the bottom of hole number 1, go into hole number 2, come out hole number 3, or the top one, towards the top, and go back over to the opposite side of the necklace and reinforce up to the button. Once we're done that, we're just going to take off these extra seed beads and tie our knot there along the round trio. So we're just reinforcing thread as we go in right now. So here I am just showing that I've come down that second bottom strand. I'm going to go into, then coming out towards the middle, into strand number 2. And then I'm going to go through strand number 3 and go once again back along the top of the necklace strand. So I've gone into the clasp, I've added all of my thread through all of those beads, and then I'm turning around, Going back over to the opposite side, and I'm just going to reinforce the thread going through the strands along the side. Once I'm done with that, then we go in and we use the thread zap or the thread burner, and we tie off our thread end. Nice and simple and easy. Showing down now, completing that second side, bringing the thread back in. I'm going to reverse the thread back up to hole number 1. And then I'm going to take off that starter thread and those couple beads that I had on there. Again, basically just for the sake of having something to hold on to. And I'm going to tie those thread ends together. The nice thing is you're right next to a black bead, so you're not going to see that knot once we burn down. But here I am, I have my knot tied. I'm going to go back through then hole number 2, back towards the center, just to kind of pull that thread in a little bit after the knot. Burn down the thread ends close to the piece, and they're on opposite sides of that bead. I'm going to take my thread zap or thread burner, burn that down close to the bead into that little knot, and that finishes up our design. So you have this cool necklace where you can do a lot with it. You have extra materials. You can kind of make it bigger, smaller, make a necklace or a bracelet rather, or earrings to match. You can see that doing a nice little center section and then having a lighter side basically really brings attention to the front of the design. Thanks so much for joining me in creating this Czech leaf falling fringe necklace. It's fun to play with basically a drop and take it where you want it to go, as well as the multi-hold bead that makes it really simple to get that multi-layered look. Remember, if you do want to check out our subscription box, which this is part of, as well as the material list, look below the video in the description, and that'll get you links back to our site. As always, if you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.